Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Right now at 5, hundreds are waking up in the dark this morning under public safety power shutoffs. We'll have the outlook from power companies on when the lights should come back on.
Local firefighters join the battle against the creek fire as it nears 150,000 acres. The latest on the rescue efforts to fly stranded hikers and campers out. Coming up.
We are 54 days until Election Day. Today, Biden lands in battleground Michigan. President Trump follows tomorrow as state leaders nationwide say they need billions more dollars to make this election work during the pandemic. This is Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. Good morning, it's 5 a.m. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen here with Taylor Schaub, who is in for Alex. And you can certainly feel a change in the weather outside overnight.
Yes, you can, and it's a little needed right now. But let me tell you something. Yesterday, driving home, the smoke and the haze in the air, it was incredible. So, Kevin, what's it going to be like today?
Well, unfortunately, we're not going to get any relief in that, and we've got some gusty winds this morning as well, and so we're seeing a little bit of that blowing dust, and then we have the red flag warning, so we have still a lot we're going to talk about as we go throughout today. Let's talk about our temperature. Now, yesterday we were below 100 degrees. 98 degrees was the high, and again, I remind you, our warmest temperature so far was July 12th when we hit 108 degrees. Now let's talk about those winds. They're starting to pull back a little bit, but we have been looking at some wind gusts right around 20 to 25 miles per hour here in the valley. And we've got 81 degrees, a southeast wind now at 10, so relaxing a little bit, so that's a good thing. And visibility, 10 miles. So even with a little bit of that smoke and the haze out at the airport, showing visibility pretty good. Here's a look at the temperatures this afternoon. We'll be right near 80 at 9 a.m. and then near 95 as we progress into the afternoon. Tehachapi at 59 right now with that southeast wind at 13. Visibility is good at this time. And as we take a look at the red flag warning in place now through 8 p.m. tonight, and that is for all of the Kern County mountains due to the wind, due to the warmth and low humidity. So just keep that in mind. We need to do our due diligence. And here's a look at our wind forecast as we go throughout today. And you can see they still hang around little pockets of gusts, but I don't think it'll be too bad. And by tonight, those winds will really pull back. Here's a look at the temperatures in the mountains today. We'll rise near 80 degrees, 79 by 3. I'll have much more in your forecast. That's coming up in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Now to the latest on the wildfires burning across the state, with hundreds rescued as flames close in around them. A record-breaking fire season this year with 2.2 million acres scorched thus far. More than 24 major wildfires are burning, leaving hundreds of thousands fearful they'll have to evacuate.
Just say some prayers. We don't want to see this place go up in smoke.
The creek fire near Fresno now stretches more than 200 square miles after burning for just 4 days. More than 140 people were rescued yesterday via helicopter after being trapped while camping and hiking in the Sierra National Forest. And thousands of firefighters are working to stop the spread of flames following a heat wave that only served to amplify the blaze. And our local firefighters are helping in the battle against the wildfires as well, with the Kern County Fire Department reporting that it's in a strike team to help crews working to stop the creek fire. This after the same strike team already assisted with the River Fire and Canyon Complex fires. And the Bakersfield Fire Department sent a fire engine and incident management team member to help with both the Castle Fire and the Red Salmon Fire. Both those fires are burning in the Sequoia National Forest. Another engine with 4 firefighters was also sent to help with the Shotgun Fire about 5 miles north of the Castle Fire.
A popular camping and vacation spot for Kern residents is now under threat to be wiped away by the creek fire. Madaris Bab from our sister station Casey in Fresno has a look at what's still standing and what's been lost at Shaver Lake.
Blackened trees and white ash covering both sides of the 168 just a few miles from Shaver Lake.
As you can see behind me, the fire did come through this area last night very hot and very fast. With those 30-mile-an-hour winds behind it.
Cressman's, a store loved by locals, and a Valero gas station taken out by the blazing inferno. Just a little down the way, you can see that there is still smoke and flames coming from the building. There was also a restroom and a store that was completely completely destroyed. This all rolling in here on Monday. Just a mile up the road, a broken sign and a charred Jeep, all that's left at Shaver Ranch. Take a look at Shaver Lake. You can kind of see the water and you can see the boats behind me. As we go over and pan to my left, you can see that the Shaver Lake Lodge still intact. That's how it is for a lot of the buildings up here. So firefighters are doing as much as they can to protect this area. Those efforts successful in many neighborhoods, including Ockenden Ranch, Brett's Mills, and Sierra Vista.
And hundreds in Kern are still waiting for the power to come back on this morning after PG&E performed public safety power shutoffs to help prevent more fires. The shutoffs began around 7 last night. PG&E says it expects to restore power to those affected around 2 this afternoon. The shutoff affects 638 customers, which includes some homes and businesses in northeast Bakersfield and communities south of Bakersfield along I-5 by the Grapevine like Lebec. The utility says that you should enter your address on pgealerts.com to see if you could lose power. These shutoffs affect more than 172,000 people statewide across 22 counties.
And as Taylor just mentioned, the community of Lebec was hit with shutoffs, and residents there made sure they had enough to make it through until power was back on.
My aunt's on oxygen, so it's going to be kind of hard for her. So luckily we have a generator that if she does need her oxygen, which she does when she sleeps, then we just got to make sure our generator's running.
Patricia Reese-Smith says she was notified the power would go out around 7 o'clock last night, so she made sure she was ready. In addition to making sure they had their generator, Reese-Smith says she also went to the store and bought bags of ice to keep her food from spoiling. Southern California Edison says its customers should also watch out for outages. At last check, the utility says close to 2,000 customers are under consideration for a power shutoff. It could affect people in Bear Valley Springs and areas of Tehachapi. I know I was under consideration as well. We did not see power go out last night. If that happens, the company says the outage could last until tomorrow, so be prepared. If you have any questions for SoCal Edison, you can call 1-800-611-1911.
New this morning, a car fire breaks out in East Bakersfield. It happened around 1:30 this morning near the intersection of Haley and Bernard Streets. City firefighters and the California Highway Patrol responded to the scene. There were no reports of any injuries. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. And the Kern County coroner has identified the motorcyclist who died in the crash with another motorcyclist in Rosamond. This happened at 10:30 Friday night near the corner of 170th Street West and Rosamond Boulevard. The California Highway Patrol says 25-year-old Jason Hurrington died when his motorcycle collided with another. Investigators have not released any further details about the crash at this time. In education news, California State University Bakersfield is celebrating its 50th year. They've added a new section to their website with timelines and information of the history of CSUB, as well as photos, a list of top moments, and more. The university is holding a virtual celebration on October 1st. The university said the anniversary website will be updated throughout the year with new information, events, and activities.
Kern County's One Book Project is going virtual this year, and it's bound to attract younger tech-savvy readers. This year, the board has selected the book titled Broadband, The Untold Story of the Women Who Made the Internet by Claire Evans. The project says this is a community-wide project that invites anyone to read and discuss themes of women's rights and women in STEAM. That's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. This is in celebration of the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which gave women in the country the right to vote. Bitwise in Bakersfield, the group behind the One Book Project, is also bringing other virtual events to the Bakersfield community this fall. They're hosting the One Book Project, Women Who Innovate panel, and Women Who Podcast panel, the Creative Crossing Colors of Hope Instagram Takeover Project for suicide awareness, and the Bitwise Download, a recurring digital series.
Well, our parent company, Nexstar Broadcasting, is expanding its statewide news coverage with a half-hour program set to run right here on KGET. The weekly news program called Inside California Politics was launched earlier this year in select markets. Starting next week, you'll be able to see it right here on Channel 17. The program's goal is to examine political, economic, and social issues through in-depth interviews and unbiased reporting. The show will be hosted from Los Angeles by KTLA anchor Frank Buckley and from Sacramento by KTXL anchor Nikki Lorenzo. It will run Sunday morning at 9 on KGET. You can also catch it on our website, kget.com. Following the broadcast, viewers can join in on the discussion of the day following at CA Insider on Twitter and using the hashtag InsideCAPolitics.
521 as wildfires ravage the state. There are extra concerns for property owners.
How the experts suggest homeowners prepare for the worst while hope for the best. Coming up in your 17 Business Watch.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back in your Business Watch. The battle between Apple and Epic Games is heating up after Apple pulled the wildly popular Fortnite from its App Store last month. Apple shot back in its legal battle with Epic Games, alleging in a counterclaim filed yesterday that the gaming company breached its contract with Apple. Last month, Epic Games published a version of Fortnite that let users pay for in-game content without giving Apple its usual 30% cut. Apple kicked Fortnite off the App Store and the lawsuits began. Apple's seeking an unspecified amount in damages. Samsung won a more than $6.5 billion contract to develop the 5G network infrastructure for Verizon. The contract runs through 2025. Samsung has developed limited 5G systems for Verizon in the past. It beat out Finland's Nokia, which has also worked with Verizon. China's Huawei Technologies was out of the running. The U.S. government considers it a security risk. As restrictions due to the coronavirus start to ease up in some industries, some local eateries are reopening their doors. Remix Asian Kitchen and Ramen is reopening today after being shut down since late July. Offerings include Hawaiian plate lunches, garlic noodles, and of course ramen. You can find Remix on Stockdale Highway at the medical offices by Riverwalk. And the restaurant Saunders set to reopen today as well. They'll be serving food and cocktails on their covered patio. They'll also be offering takeout and delivery. For details on restaurant hours and placing reservations, visit SaunderBakersfield.com. As we continue to deal with record-setting wildfires across our state, experts are advising California homeowners make sure they're well prepared to threats to their properties. NBC's Dan Sheneman has details.
For some homeowners,
that fire grew so quickly, so fast.
There is no greater threat than wildfires.
Wildfire often becomes something that makes someone feel helpless. There's nothing they can do about it.
Actually, Roy Wright, CEO of the Insurance Institute for Business Home Safety, says there are things homeowners can do.
You need to pay attention to any place around your home where organic material can accumulate.
Wright says keep the home and the area around it clean.
You need to clean those gutters. You need to blow all of those other pieces away. You should not be storing material underneath your deck of any kind.
When it comes to landscaping, Wright stresses the 5-foot rule.
So you want things that are non-flammable in that first 5 feet. So rock is an appropriate thing to lay on the ground. There are succulents and other kinds of landscaping that would not be as flammable.
And Wright says many homeowners need to think about the roof that's literally over their heads.
You must have a fire-rated roof.
The final key is right next door.
In some suburban areas, obviously, by the time you're 30 feet away, you're in your neighbor's yard. You need to take action, and your neighbors need to take action.
Planning and preparation, the best way to be ready for the unexpected. Dan Sheneman, NBC News.
532 and 17 News is your local election headquarters. Presidential nominee Joe Biden heads to battleground state Michigan today, where nearly 3 million people are expected to vote by mail. Tracy Potts has our story from Washington.
Hi, Maddie. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Both presidential candidates are headed to Michigan this week, back to back. Michigan's governor says she's concerned about the Trump rally because she fears a lot of the president's supporters may not wear a mask.
So good.
President Trump stirring up supporters against Joe Biden.
If Joe Biden gets in, your Second Amendment is gone. It's gone.
And voting by mail.
Sending out millions of unsolicited ballots. Make sure you send the ballot in and then go to your polling place and make sure it counts.
Biden lands in Michigan today. President Trump follows tomorrow. The top election official there is worried. State leaders nationwide say they need another $3 to $4 billion to make this election work during COVID.
More people, more training, and more technology and more infrastructure, more tabulators and the like.
This afternoon, a congressional committee run by Democrats hears from civil rights advocates and public health experts on ensuring a safe and secure election.
Donald Trump failed. Joe Biden will get it done.
Meantime, Biden is unleashing $47 million in new swing state ads this week. The Democrats outspent Team Trump on ads by $18 million last week. President Trump says he'll kick in more out of pocket if needed, just like he did in 2016.
Whatever it takes, we have to win.
4 years ago, President Trump won Michigan by just over 10,000 votes. But you may also remember about 10,000 absentee ballots were tossed from that election, never counted, many of them because they arrived too late. I'm Tracy Potts, 17 News.
All right, turning now to the latest on the coronavirus pandemic. The department announced 23 new cases yesterday and another day of no new deaths. Over 13,000 people are isolated in their homes. We should also note that over 13,000 people have recovered from the virus. 167 people are isolated right now in local hospitals. The death toll stands at 296.
All right, 5:35 is your time now. A potential major setback for researchers of one of the multiple coronavirus vaccines in trials. Now with trials halted after a participant fell ill. Drug maker AstraZeneca announced yesterday that clinical trials for the University of Oxford's coronavirus vaccine were put on hold as they're going to review safety data.
We don't want to rush these trials. We want them done in a very rigorous fashion. And this is an example of why. If a serious adverse medical event occurs, we want it investigated. We're not even sure that the person received the vaccine could have received the placebo.
The safety data will now be reviewed by an independent committee. Oxford and AstraZeneca was the third partnership to enter phase 3 trials in the U.S. Pfizer and Moderna began their phase 3 trials in late July. And that brings us to our 17 interactive feedback poll. With recent news of the pause on that particular coronavirus vaccine trial, have you changed your mind about the safety of potential coronavirus vaccines? Call or text us at 888-4617. Press 1 if yes and 2 for no. You can also text, tweet, email, or Facebook your comments. Once again, our phone line is 888-4617. We'll have some comments and results from the poll coming up.
Well, Adventist Health continues to offer free vaccines for kids who need them. The vaccines are for children who have no health insurance, for families on Medi-Cal, or for Native children. It's happening between 8:30 a.m. and 3 p.m.
Sunrise Interviews is brought to you by Valley Strong Credit Union.
Welcome back. Your time now is 5:47, and it's really hard to believe, but Friday will mark the 19th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And joining us this morning to tell us about the annual memorial service, Bakersfield Fire Chief Anthony Galageza and Bakersfield Police Chief Greg Terry. Good morning, Chiefs. Thank you both so much for being with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And I'm wondering and certain that this year's memorial is going to look a little different, right?
Yeah, due to COVID situation, it'll be streamed for everybody to see. Everybody will be able to see it from the comfort of their home, their office, wherever they're at. But we did not want to go. Chief Terry and I did not want to go without this being honored and remembered.
So what can people expect on this Friday? How can they, pay respects to all of the thousands of lives lost during 9/11?
It's going to be a virtual ceremony that will be live streamed from the West Side substation for the police substation and the fire station there. So again, like the chief said, we wanted to make sure that despite everything that's going on in our world and our community, that we don't pause to remember what happened that day and the sacrifice that so many public safety personnel made. But our community here will be able to see it live streamed.
And so many men and women in uniform lost their lives during these attacks. What does this mean to you both in public service to stop and remember?
Well, what it means to me is that 2,977 victims were lost on that day. But more importantly, we have to look at is 14,000 individuals were saved by the firefighters, police officers, EMT paramedics that risked their lives. 343 firefighters, 71 law enforcement, and 8 paramedic EMTs. So we have to remember that 14,000 lives were saved because of what they did and how they made that ultimate sacrifice on that day.
Absolutely. Chief Terry?
Yeah, and there's so many examples, and we all remember the stories, and we recall seeing the videos and of firefighters and police officers rushing into the buildings, and it was just heroism on display that day. But it's also a time for me to also reflect and remember that so many of our firefighters and police officers do those sorts of events and those actions every single day. We have firefighters up north facing fires, and this year the world has been hit by a pandemic, and firefighters and police officers are serving in many of the same heroic ways, just not facing the same type of danger, but the threat is no less. And so I do pause to remember what happened that day and all the sacrifice, but also begin to reflect as well on just how much our public safety personnel do for us every single day.
Yeah, they sign up not knowing when an event like this could happen. We have a unique memorial here in town. It's been around for a few years, but still some people haven't been out to see it. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, we leave it out when we brought it in, the artifact was important for it to be for Bakersfield, so that Bakersfield, Kern County could come and remember what happened that day. It was a pleasure for Chief Greener to get it. I was able to go back to New York and sign for it and usher it back into Bakersfield, which was a great honor. And it means a lot to us because we were able to share stories with some of the FDNY that were there, the fire department that were there, personnel. And we spent probably a good week with them. And to hear their stories and what actually happened that day, walk through those stations, it was emotional. So it's so important that we recognize and remember.
Can people stop by and just see that?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime.
And where is that?
It is at 1315 Buena Vista by Fire Station 15 and the police substation right in the middle.
Yeah, if you haven't been by to see it, it really does just help to display the gravity of what we're pausing to remember on Friday. What is happening during the ceremony this Friday, Chief Terry?
There'll be speakers. I think the mayor will be speaking. The Chief Gallegeza and I will be speaking. There will be our department honor guards and bagpipers. And again, just a brief ceremony to remember that day. And we'll be sharing it with our community. And so we invite everyone to log on and view the live stream.
And it's happening at 8:30 on Friday. Again, you can watch on the Bakersfield Fire's Facebook page. KGET will also be streaming it on our Facebook page. So we'll share it there and make sure everyone can see it and pause and pay their respects. Chief Terry, Chief Gallegeza, thank you both so much for being with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.